apologize in advance. I have a sore throat, so I'm sorry.
Thank you for all the work you did on this.
Thank you. I'm going to have Jamie start with a quick update, if you don't mind. We're just going to show you one of the commercials that's been playing on the local media. So.
Here at the Harwich Cultural Center, we have what's called the main building, and we have the activity wing. Here in the main building, there's 14 classrooms on the first floor and 14 classrooms on the second floor. Those are utilized by artists, wholesale people who make goods and then bring them to market. And then we have a basement studio, which has a letterpress and letter carver artist in that space. We've also retained public areas in the building, such as the former library, the former art room, the music room, the auditorium, cafeteria. And those are for events and functions or classroom space for people to come in and teach. We are bringing in other individuals who are looking to give classes and really give back to the community and fill the gap in areas that aren't being utilized here on the Cape.
I needed a wonderful space to work where I could spread out my many supplies and media and the work that I do. And I was not working in my son's bedroom or anybody.
At the beginning of getting to know each other and each other's work and trying to figure out ways that we might begin to work together.
So I've been looking for a space to use to do my own work, but then ultimately to give classes.
But I think certainly making it available to the next generation of people who think they might be interested is absolutely critical. And so to have a platform in this space where there is a lot of flow, people coming in and out, and having my door open every day. People make it down to the basement, I'll be happy to chat with them or even show them how I do what I do. I was very fortunate in the teachers that I found that allowed me to inhabit their space and learn from them over the course of traditional apprenticeship on the letterpress side and then a briefer grant-funded apprenticeship on the letter carving side. So I feel this tremendous debt to the teachers that have made the time available to me. I want to provide a similar service.
Stairs that I'm planning on teaching caustic workshops in. There are a bunch of other people, so we might like rent it by the week and do 5 artists, 5 days, and do a workshop for a continuous week, different workshop every day. And so all of those kinds of things to really bring arts into the community.
Spectacular. Everything's in great condition. They're more than willing to help you and encourage you, which I think a lot of artists need. And as far as the community goes, I think there's a real need for this type of facility that people can come to, feel welcome at, and actually look around at some of the work that's done here. I'm just blown away. It's just amazing.
I love the space. I love
And just to do it because it's available, it's affordable, and I'm just doing it to amuse myself, and I think that's fine as far as it goes. But again, we have this opportunity to sort of turn ourselves outward to the community, and not just in Harwich, but all of the Cape.
I can do what I want, and I'm happy as a clam being here. I couldn't ask for more.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure that's a lot more interesting than hearing me talk about it. Those are people who are actually in the spaces. In front of you tonight and on the back table for anyone that's interested, this is the latest magazine that we are in, and there's some on the back table. And we'll talk a lot more about the Art Week schedule that's coming up. But if you don't mind, I'm just going to quickly run through some of the questions I was asked. Forgive me, I know that Erica was just on there, but this is Erica Strezpek, who's responsible for really doing a great job over there and moving us forward. So,
thank you.
The first slide shows the projected income source. This would be based on next year. So there are 28 studios, and that monthly revenue is $8,400. The portable wing, we are anticipating about $1,000 from. The shop in the basement, he was at $500. As you know, you voted to increase that to $750 a month. The library, auditorium, cafeteria, courtyard space, we said we would bring in $300. Clearly, that's one of the areas we'd like to move and bringing more revenue in. The art room, again, another area that we can expand. The gym, we estimated at $200 that we're bringing in, and the museum pays $500 a month, bringing the monthly revenue at $11,250, which would come out yearly, if my math is right, to $149,180.
Carolyn, does that include the 2 portables that you just rented?
It does not.
Okay.
It does not. They have not signed yet, so we did not include that.
And there's no number on there for cafeteria yet?
The cafeteria, we just put that broad number in a small number in the $300, so that if we rented it only 3 times in a month, that's what we would bring in.
Right. So the bulk of this revenue is from the classrooms?
That is correct. Currently, we have room to grow, and that's the second part of us.
Thank you.
So I know that one of the areas people were concerned with was about the spending. So this is, again, the anticipated budget that we have, will be putting forward. So the salaries would be at 16.4%. As you know, that's not a full-time person. That would include 2 part-time people. We have Erica, and then we would like to expand and have another part-time person so that we could get more revenue for those rooms and things that we need a person to be at in the evenings. The custodian, again, there is 1 custodian currently working there 19 hours a week. This would include another custodian, another 19-hour or two 10 hours, whatever Sean felt was best, but he gave us that numbers to better cover the building and keep the cleanliness and things up to code. So the utilities come in at 23.9%. The insurance for that building is at 6.1%. I know the numbers are to the side if you'd like me to read them, but I'm sure you can all do that. The water is at 0.4%. The supplies and maintenance and repairs to the building, these numbers are from Sean Libby, who couldn't be here with us tonight, 17.4%. And then we've included in the budget going forward for next year the future large capital items. A boiler might break, so we need to be putting some money aside for that building. As you know, when it was given to the town, there was some deferred maintenance, so we're catching up and making up for some of the things that were not readily fixed. So I apologize for the photo. Sean got this to me today. But this is, I think, what you were hoping to hear. This is from the article that was from the Article 11 of 2016, and this is how that money was spent. The town was 125. So you can see that we spent 124,996. Whoa, we're pretty good on our budget, aren't we? And that would include things like the sprinkler system, the electrical, painting. There's ATC, which is the heating and air conditioning. Well, there's no air conditioning. The heating system and ventilation systems in there. So this is a breakdown, and I thank Kim, who got this ready for us too, and Sean from the Highway Department. So that shows you how we spent it in 16. And then again, the next slide would be on 17, where we are now. And this is of the money that the town voted in the budget. So this was the 125. So we're currently at 96. And again, it pays for similar things as it did the year before. It's paying for our alarm system, the sprinkler system. It's paying for a water department. It's paying for some paint and the boiler system. So I just wanted to give you a breakdown of where we were, what we spent it on, how close we came. And then the next one is just the draft cultural center budget. It's just exactly what I talked about. I always like a graph. I'm a more visual learner. So this breaks down what we would spend on salaries, and which is the 16.4%, the custodial salaries. The utilities come in at 23.9%, the insurance. So these are all the things that we talked about, just the pie graph, so you could see it a little better. So the income that was generated, the recreation side of the house brought in $1,540. And this is as of March 2018, and I did verify these numbers with the Chief Financial Officer, Carol Capola, who has been very helpful. We had a balance coming forward from the revolving fund from last year of $27,680. And the current cultural center building use, that's as of March, we're at $83,725, and I just totaled them up, so we're at $112,945. So that's the part of the financial, and I don't know if you want to just talk about that and then go into the future, or if you'd like to see the rest, totally up to you. We'd like to make it as...
We'll go to questions on financial.
Sure.
First, I'd like to just tell the new people that are here tonight and anyone that hasn't followed this was a building that had 2 years' worth of middle school repurpose committees, and both of those committees basically deadlocked. They wanted to go for more ideas. The only offer we had on the building with an RFP process, year one, the only offer we got on the building was roughly $650,000 for 6 acres and this building, which we still owed $235,000-ish for the roof that we put on it, which we're still paying for the roof today. So $650,000, 6 acres of land in this building was the only offer we got, and we, at that point, decided to try and come up with other uses. The offer that was out there was for 65 housing units. It was a 40B project, similar to the one in Yarmouth across from the State Police Barracks, from a company called Stratford Capital. That was the only real serious offer we got on the building. The board talked about it. We had several people in the community wanted to go the cultural center route. I really have to give Carolyn the credit. Carolyn took our little bit of direction and really broadened that. We've had our first round, as you just saw in the presentation, we had our first round of increases. So we started this at a much lower rate. We had our first round of rate increases based on popularity and based on what we knew we could get. We wanted to keep it affordable for the artists and bring people to the community, but we do recognize that we don't want to drain people's pockets and come up with another drain on the community. So we did vote to have a price increase on the rooms after the first year. Since then, we've had another local business rent both portables. I believe the plan is they want to pay for a year in advance anyway and do some repairs to the portables. But Carolyn continues to come up with ideas and continues to book the larger spaces. And as this has grown, we've had more people interested in the library upstairs. We have reached out to some culinary institutes and maybe be able to do something in the cafeteria. The gymnasium is being used by our rec department, as you saw. But we're really trying to make good use of the space and generate enough money to at least cover the costs while we do it. In the middle school repurpose committee, I was on the second year of that. There was a lot of concern from residents of the sharing of the driveway with the elementary school and turning this into a housing unit based on the proximity to the elementary school and the playground. So I'll open it up to questions on finances from the board. Thank you. Larry?
Thank you for the presentation. I came into this skeptical of the cultural center, as everyone knows. And partly because I was hoping for, with our need for affordable housing, we'd look at that for affordable housing. I agree with Mike, 61 units was way more than what I was comfortable with, but always looking for housing. But Carolyn, you've done a great job of moving me in a positive direction.
Oh, my goodness. Sorry. That's great to hear.
I do have a couple questions.
Of course.
Well, because it's moving that way. You know, we're now showing a net deficit, if I read here, of $80,000, basically. That's manageable with the resources helping the town do a lot of things. And I'm with Michael. I think we can move this ahead as part of a whole economic development activity, especially with some of the things that's going on with the Sagatucket Harbor and tied into the artist shacks, for instance. I think the cafeteria, haven't even touched on that, of having a licensed cafeteria that we can rent out.
Yes.
These questions probably are more for Chris and for you, Carolyn. But the 23,000 you show on the sewer, do you happen to know the split, how that split with the school?
50-50.
This is our portion. what
Yeah,
shows
this
as
is
our
just our
portion.
share.
Oh, yeah, I got that, I just wondered
Yeah.
overall, so
50-50.
50/50.
And where Larry's going with that is there's a joint
Okay.
septic system between the elementary school and that middle school building. There's a treatment facility in the middle of it. The cost to the town was about 44,000 shared with the school. It's now 46,000 based on these numbers, and we split it 50/50 with Monomoy Regional
Yeah.
School.
I don't want to be cynical, I just want to be sure we're getting
Yep.
a fair share.
Just want to clarify.
Okay. And I appreciate the putting money away for large capital items. Have you started developing a plan to put that into the capital outlay plan so that we can, we don't get caught with this discussion of why it's coming up at the end?
Yeah, just on that, you know, one of the things that we're looking for is some direction from the board. Initially, it was, let's explore this concept, let's see what kind of revenue we can generate, and a 2-year time horizon was generated. I think we're coming up on a year into that, so we only have a year left. And one of the things is, you know, it's hard for me to say to Sean Libby, our facility maintenance, do a 5 or 10-year plan when he only has a 2-year time horizon. So one of the things, and I know it's on the agenda, is to look for, can we get a 3 to 5 year time horizon, and then he will start to populate the capital plan. The other thing that he will do is, if the Greens community gets voted at town meeting and we have accessibility of funds, he will start to do some work utilizing those funds, the Green Community State grants, if you would, to start doing boilers and windows, and you could see that was his idea about putting money aside for roof repair or other larger repair. So we are thinking that the board will think 3 to 5 years, and then we can put together more of a robust capital plan to keep going on this concept.
Procedurally, how are you setting that aside? Is that, you have an enterprise fund, how are you setting aside the money for future capital?
Well, actually, the way this has been structured, initially, the first couple years, we did 125,000 really as out of free cash each year to subsidize the operation, to kind of have us be sustainable. 2 years ago, we went to town meeting and asked for a revolving fund.
So this goes into revolving fund then?
And now this revolving fund is the one that has 112,000 in there, and that would roll over year to year.
Okay. And Carolyn, I appreciate the, you know, adding expense for custodial facility, that type of stuff. Is that cost plus DPW time or just cost?
I believe that the number Sean gave me, and I will verify for you, but I believe that was just cost, not time and cost. Is that
Yeah, just
Could
the
you verify
salary,
and-
I can verify it right now.
and-
Just the salaries that we have are really for Erica and we have a custodial services.
Okay.
So Sean's time, Carolyn's time
My
has not
request would
been
be then that
sectioned off.
that you show cost plus time, so we know what the true expense to the town is. It's
Yep.
just not the cost.
Sean did provide a breakdown of labor, to me at least, and I know it was forwarded through the town email system,
Okay.
so.
I'd like to see that, so it's a full document. But thanks again. Good job.
Thank you, thank you.
Julie?
Well, first of all, thank you for the presentation and for all of your hard work. You both have done an amazing job, and, you know, I attended a concert there back in March, and it was fantastic, and I think that it really adds a lot of value to the town in a way that we can't necessarily measure, so I appreciate it. I don't have any questions.
Thank you.
Janelle?
I also feel the same way, but I just want to point out that your numbers are so conservative for the library, auditorium, cafeteria, art room, gym, and I want people to understand how conservative those numbers are. And you've also added in the 2 extra positions, the other part-time person and the other part-time custodian. So really, it's not an $80,000 deficit.
Correct. Correct.
Even though it looks like that, if someone were to look at the numbers, it's really not, because these conservative numbers are just that.
Very
Very
conservative.
conservative.
Very.
$100 in a month is just, you know, I'm sure you make that in a week.
Well, let me
If-
say
and
that the
especially if
numbers
you
are
ha-
the numbers. You can have an optimistic and conservative listing then to show, but, yeah.
But I think, though, that, you know, you can't project. We can tell what the extra salaries of the other part-time person and the other custodian are going to be and put that in, but I think we should bump the numbers up of the monthly revenue. If we have those 2 extra workers there, the monthly revenue is certainly going to go up.
Correct.
So I just wanted to point that out to the general public who maybe missed your presentation and didn't understand, and just that it's really not an $80,000 deficit, and awesome.
Thank you, appreciate it.
And I'm ready to make a motion whenever you guys are ready.
Don?
Can I say
To
something
extend
first?
it. Go.
Again, I appreciate everything you did, and I got into this later in the game, but I'm tempted to declare a national holiday that Larry has gotten an appointment. Of being in favor of at least the concept. But there's two sides to a balance sheet. And with due respect to Larry, this building suffered from benign neglect. And we were literally dragging it downhill to the point where zero was way north of where we were. I mean, they had to put a lot of money into this, but there was mold, they didn't open the doors or windows. I mean, it was almost like we were willingly trying to drag the thing into the ground. I believe there's a value in any community to having the ability to make room for culture, to make room for history, to make room for recreation and open space. And this fits in with that. We had the building. We're not building a building. We're going to be paying for that septic system if this thing was empty. And I would argue that we were neglectful because we should have been allocating money to keep that place buttoned down in the shape it was when we closed it, but we didn't. I mean, it literally was going downhill. Having said that, my counterpoint to you, Larry, is that while I understand the ideas of cost centers and profit centers and everything, the moment we budget for the Selectman Administrator's Office to amortize the cost of the DPW to do stuff for us, like the parking lot, because Michael said this in the past, we're a town. We own things as a town. We are not set up to allocate costs so that we cross-bill. The fire department's going to charge the DPW for the possibility of a future fire, or the DPW charging them to plow their driveways. To the extent that this thing covers its own expenses, I'm satisfied with that, and I don't need to feel that we've got to lather on overhead costs from another department within town to add on to salaries.
Want to do that?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And I also wanted to just reiterate for people, and then also let people know who may not know, that Harwich is the only town that the Mass Cultural Council chose in the entire Commonwealth. They chose, I think it was 4 or 5 cities, but Harwich is the only town that they chose to have a liaison with, which means that we have been designated a cultural district. So that allows us to apply for grant monies, and it also will increase their advertising for us, driving tourism, and again with the chamber, having their magazine feature the cultural center this year. I really feel like now is the time, Mr. Chair, that I would like to make a motion that we extend the 2-year trial period another 5 years, so 6 years from now, end it.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded to extend the 2-year trial period to an additional 5 years. Discussion. Larry?
Not to debate Don forever, because we're probably never going to agree on this, but my counterpoint, if you will, is information is good. We make decisions on a lot of things going on in town and setting priorities, just not the cultural center. There could be other buildings that we decide that it's not worth the effort when we have the true expenses to do work with, or some activity. And so I'm always looking forward to knowing what the expenses are in addition to the other, because I think that's part of our duty to understand and how to make best decisions.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the motion? You know, to me, this makes a lot of sense because you can then plan. We can tell the tenants that we're going to be there. We can tell the Culinary Institute that we actually have some time to move in there. That's been one of the biggest complaints.
Correct.
Can you tell me how many people are on a waiting list for what's already rented,
Sure can.
roughly?
Yep, the waiting list currently has 18. We have that
18 on a waiting list for classrooms.
For 28, right?
for 28. Yes, there are 28.
There's a specific,
Some people need Northern Lights, but there are 18 currently listed that we have been in touch with.
Right, and this will allow you to reach out for grants and get free money.
Absolutely.
Great.
Sure.
If there is such a thing.
Don't use free money as a term.
Ed McManus, I just want to applaud you for considering taking a yes vote on this motion you have. I know the Cranberry Festival, we've been done a couple of concerts at the community center, and we are working with Erica and Carolyn to do a summer concert series there. Having this sort of security or forward-looking plan, where one of the things we're doing, we're looking at doing the concert series in the courtyard. It's a little rough. We've attracted a local landscaping firm he's putting together a plan which he'll bring to you and offer to donate his services to sort of put it in better shape for that series this summer. I think he'll be glad to know that it's not just a one-year thing that he's doing, but it will carry on. Also, from the Cranberry Festival's point of view, we've been able to, now that we are sort of cooperating with the town on the use of the facility, it's opened up a series of different grants that we can apply for. One's a New England Cultural Council grant, which will help fund the artists that we're bringing in this summer. And then there's a Mass Cultural Council grant, which we'll be applying for. And I think it just will benefit our organization and many other organizations who want to make use of it. As you know, what we try and do is run musical performances, and we charge a ticket price. In this case, we're trying to keep that ticket price very low, so it's affordable to a lot of folks, but we do hope to make a little bit of profit, which we in turn then turn into our scholarship account to provide for scholarships for our students graduating from Cape Tech and from Monomoy Regional High School. So I think this is a great plan that you're about ready to vote for, I hope, and I congratulate you.
Thank you.
Before you do take that vote, I just wanted to let everyone know that this weekend there has been a New England, a Discover New England conference down in Falmouth. It is an international tour operators conference. With this extension, it will help us, I've already heard from many of them that are past clients of mine, that they are interested in the arts and are very excited. So if you do vote for this, now the extension, this will give our hotels, our restaurants, and our shops more people coming into town as well that will be supporting this wonderful cultural center. So thank you.
Thank you. I know we're ready to vote on this. The last thing I want to mention is we have the new organization that's forming, Friends of the Harwich Cultural Center, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And they are volunteering their time free of charge to help clean, to do events, to maintain the building. Is that
And
correct?
help in so many different ways.
Fundraising
Yes.
as well?
Yes,
Thank
and
you.
they are both inside people who are part of the building and open to people who are not currently utilizing the building but believe in the concept of the cultural center.
More town volunteers.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And we can always use more. They can always use more.
I'll call for a vote on this. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. Thank you.
Thanks. Do
So
you mind if I just...
let's move on to the next piece.
Okay, but before we move on, do you mind if I just quickly go through, because this has been a
No,
huge
go ahead.
project. The Art Week, you don't want to miss this. So we are, and I'll go through it quickly. This is the first time Harwich has participated. Erica has done really an unbelievable job. She has gotten us recognized on the website for all of Massachusetts. There are, if you go to that website, you will see that there are like 5 different categories, and Harwich Cultural Center is featured in 4 of them, 3 or 4 of them, right on the publication. One of the things that happened is that we, out of 500 people who tried to be part of the partnership. They picked 20 to be on their advertisement for rolling billboards that are rolling throughout Massachusetts. And one of our local artists, who happens to be here, was chosen with Erica's help. We submitted that. So we are one of 20 of the billboards that will be rolling around all of
Like 93
Massachusetts,
and- right.
everywhere. So Harwich Cultural Center will be all over the roadways.
Is this like the Wienermobile?
It's
It's
the digital billboards that will be like, 128, 93, so that's quite exciting for us.
Right. The next thing is that we will be participating in Light Up the Night, and we thank the department, the highway department, and especially facilities, who made our Art Week sign, which will be lit up. And I'm going to put in a plug. If people have any candles, the battery-operated ones, if they'd like to drop those off, because we would love to light up that building. We're featured, this building, on the same page as the Zachem Bridge, so we're in some pretty big company, so we'd really like to light it up. So we're happy to take donations. You can drop them off at the community center or cultural center. Another thing that we are doing is we have put together our own schedule, which you all have in front of you, which is 5 days or 10 days total of programs, and we have our artists participating. They're going to be doing demonstrations. It's free. We have an open house. There are music concerts. There is so much. It's on our website. You really don't want to miss all of the events that are coming up, which is another reason it's great that you support it, because we can only grow from here. So the last, the partnerships and press, we just listed some of the people who've utilized the building, and in front of you is one of the binders of all of the ads and articles that have been written positive, I must say, and we're so grateful to our partnership with the local newspapers, who have been very, very supportive. So, did I miss anything? So that's it. Thank you for letting me put that in. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thank you for your excitement.
I am excited. I am. Okay, now, you'd like to go to,
Creation of the labyrinth?
the labyrinth.
Labyrinth.
Okay, so, as you know, I'm not an expert, not even close to that subject, but we are fortunate that we have someone in the building who is, so if you don't mind, I'm going to invite Robin. I'm going to have her give my chair so she can speak right into the microphone. Oh, sit right next to me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, I do like that.
Oh, okay.
So this is Lorinda, and Lorinda has a studio in the building. So I know that we had brought before you the idea of a labyrinth walk. And I know that you wanted to do a little research, and I sent you some information, some of the schools that are currently using them. UMass was one of them. So I know that there were some letters sent to you as well. I had some other photographs with Jamie's camera. I don't know if she can get them, of some that were done. So we're back in front of you to answer any questions, and I don't know if Lorinda would like to just give you a quick update, if that's okay?
Perfect.
Yeah, I would like that. Thank you,
Thank
Carolyn.
you.
It's nice to meet everybody face to face. I've seen many of the videos. I'm also a Harwich resident, and I'm also a trained labyrinth facilitator. And I'd like to just read a very short paragraph of a very vanilla description of what labyrinths are used for. So I personally see the labyrinth as an experiential resource in any community, whether it's in a hospital, a school system, or in somebody's backyard. There's something called the labyrinth locator, and many people have labyrinths in their backyard that list them there and open them to the public as a resource for people to center, to experience mindfulness in this world where we have so much activity coming at us. And one of the things I love about the proposal that Donald Moore put together is he had the vision of creating a peace garden along with this labyrinth as a community resource, as well as a resource for the renters at the cultural center. Many people will, when they're on vacation, will look to the labyrinth locator to see where there's a labyrinth located. So how wonderful to be able to attract tourists coming in where they come and do something for free, but in addition, they might stop at the farmer's market, they may have lunch in town, they may go into Harwich Port and explore the retail shops there. So with that said, I will read my paragraph. The labyrinth is an ancient circular pattern found in many cultures, and it dates back to over 5,000 years. That says a lot, that it's lasted 5,000 years. Walking the labyrinth quiets the mind, opens the heart, and grounds the body. It is a single winding path that provides a meditative walk to the center and out again. It is not a maze. The term circuit refers to the number of times the path goes around the center. Labyrinths are used in many ways to encourage meditation and self-reflection and to reduce stress. And as I mentioned, hospitals, cancer treatment centers, and of course churches provide them to help people innately find peace and allow for the healing process to occur. Sometimes in a healing garden center, these are open to all people as a non-denominational, cross-cultural blueprint for well-being. Another thing that I do in the community, and I also work with clients worldwide using Skype, is I'm a holistic healing arts practitioner. And I have found many people will say to me, I can't meditate. I can't sit and meditate. And one of the things I prescribe often is to walk a labyrinth, or to walk backwards if they don't have a labyrinth in their community. One of my clients, actually, who was the one who would say to me, please help me learn how to breathe. I'm doing a triathlon, and I just panic in the water. And so in the process of talking about meditation, she now has a twin labyrinth in her backyard in Staten Island and has opened it up to the community and reads exactly what I just read. And then there's a way to walk the labyrinth. So I must say that I feel so proud and so thankful to the fact that we have this cultural center in our community of Harwich. And I'm just so thankful to have my space there. And I look forward to contributing in bringing more culture in a diverse way to the town of Harwich. And I am hopeful that you will see my viewpoint and vote on this.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm going to open it up to questions from the board. I'm going to start with Janelle. This has been before us before we agreed to bring it back. The board did agree to explore them, so they had a little more self-knowledge coming into tonight. Janelle?
So the last time when you presented, Carolyn, you were talking about, I think you said there were a couple of faith-based communities in town who were wanting to donate. And so my thing is just making sure that there's a separation of church and state, because I think that's really important. If we open it up to this is a religious thing, many different sectors of religion can come forward and say, well, you know what, I want a garden there. I want something, I want a whatever, I want a pentacle garden, or, you know. So I think it's really important to keep those things separate. And I did read that Chatham's was actually donated by the Chatham Clerical Association, was it?
Right.
That's interesting to me. But I do feel like if and I'm not even going to be on the board much longer, so my point might not even matter. But at this point, I just feel like there should be a clear separation between church and state. So not bringing in any type of religious denomination, religious kind of, feeling toward it, and keeping it much more of a mindful experience. That being said, I'm a little concerned about the placement of it. I think it's too big for the front yard. My hope is that the farmer's market is going to go over there, because I think where it is deathly. That corner on Sisson is just not conducive. we can't grow the farmer's market in that location, in my opinion. And I also think with the cultural compact that we've created with the state, this facility is going to grow. So I feel like we need to keep that front field a little bit more vacant, and also we're probably going to end up having parking issues down the road. So I think we'll have to readdress the parking situation. It's still a driveway for the elementary school, twice a day at least. So my thought is, I have a solution, because that's my thing. If I think, you know, something should be different, I have the solution. In the back, next to the Little League fields, there's a nice expanse of not so great grass right now. And it's inside the chain link fence that has a gate, and it's adjacent to the side parking lot. And I think that would be the perfect spot. And it also, because the proposal talks a lot, especially in the latter part of the proposal, about utilizing this particular labyrinth, I think, for outdoor classrooms and students. There's a lot of education. And I think that having it actually be much closer to their playground would make it more, they'd be able to utilize it better. So I'd just like to consider that. And that's the only two things that I thought. Otherwise, I think it's a great idea. I just think the placement of it and making sure that we don't, promote any type of religious aspect of it.
Thank you.
If I can, I don't actually know the answer to that question, Janelle, because I don't know who owns those fields, if they are part of the towns or, so I would be happy to look into it, but I don't know the answer right now to give that to you, so.
Thank you. As far as the religious piece of this goes, we're pretty certain that this isn't.
Right, not ever what we
Yeah,
want.
my understanding when I saw the tape of the meeting was that that was used as an example
Okay.
of
Chatham.
what Chatham did.
Right.
But that was never a part of the intention. I know when Don and I got together, I was involved in the proposal and overseeing the drawing. We were actually envisioning going out to the greater community and looking for resources from that point of view. We never talked about church funding at all.
Thank you. Don?
Actually, by extension of that, that was going to be my comment. My wife used to do healing touch. I mean, when I had my hip done, I chose to do Reiki rather than opioids. As far as I'm concerned, if you look at this in a religious way, rather than being a restrictive thought, I think in terms of Judeo-Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, all sorts of religions deal with tenets of inner peace and harmony. You're not really invoking anybody by doing that. I don't know, I mean, Janelle's got a point about parking to a certain degree, although I've lived here a long time and I've found that very little is permanent forever in terms of where you put something. It may be that the farmer's market could go in the back. It may be that the farmer's market does go in the front and you can look at the back. But in terms of whether or not we actually are sponsoring something like nasty, at a certain point in time, if you get hostile to everything because it could be construed as spiritual, you're not going to have anything. It's just all going to be secular. I have no problem with the labyrinth in general. And anything that would promote more harmony throughout the community is a good thing.
Thank you, Don. Julie?
I think it's a great idea, and to me, the cultural center is a great spot for it because, peace should be a cultural entity. So ultimately, I don't know about the exact placement. I'm open to whatever works best, but I think it's a wonderful contribution, and I think that ultimately we could all benefit from some peace.
Why are you looking at me?
Next up.
Larry?
I gather from your, the gist is you're going to be raising money for this, for donors to cover the
Sure,
cost.
asking for donations. After the first meeting, we did have people reach out.
Right, and that would cover maintenance as well?
Yes.
Let me ask you a question. Are you concerned about vandalism on something like this? Do people find it interesting to try to tear it up?
Where's the police station again?
Well, but you're in the open field, yeah,
Go
I can
ahead,
see a
let
maze.
Carolyn answer.
I did try and look into that, and I will say that Chatham had nothing to report. They said certainly people have utilized theirs, and I checked with the one on UMass grounds, and which is student-based, so I thought maybe nothing has happened, and they report that it's utilized quite a bit, and people use it in all different ways. There's probably a very correct way, and then there's probably my way, where I just need a minute to just walk, and I think people will utilize it in very different ways. And if you saw the pictures, I don't know. I guess you can vandalize anything,
That's okay.
so I'm
You've
not even
answered the
gonna go.
question.
Yes.
You all set, Larry?
Yeah, I am.
So I'd like to also explore position. I think tonight we can take a vote to support it, and then let you guys explore position. It either works back there or it doesn't work back there. And later in the agenda, we have who owns the back.
Oh.
So, Chris?
I do think, just from a process perspective, it probably would be best to raise the funds, establish the location, and then offer it to the town in the form of a gift.
Correct.
And then by acceptance of a gift, then it becomes a town asset. And if there is concern about vandalism or whatever, that you could always donate funds for maintenance of it if something were to happen. But I think approving the concept and having them come back with a formal gift that the board can accept probably makes some sense from a legal perspective.
Recommendation on citing?
So let's, can I get a motion to support the concept?
I'd like to make a motion that we support the concept and that it would come back after the funding with a recommendation for where the siting might be.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
Larry.
Next on the agenda is